I, 19-year-old male, have a sister, Emma, 16-year-old female. To give a little backstory, mine and Emma's dad left when Emma was 4, abandoning our mother for another woman, leaving her as a single mother. Growing up, Emma and I were very close, and as we got older, I found myself taking on a paternal role with her, helping with her homework, picking out her clothes, and cooking while our mother worked. It became a routine in our family until my sophomore year in high school, when my mother lost her job, which was our main source of income. This resulted in me having to get a job to help make ends meet. During this time, I was battling mental health issues and hung around the wrong group. I ended up meeting my then girlfriend, who was a junior at the time. To make a long story short, the relationship was very toxic, and she ended up getting pregnant and decided to keep the baby. When my daughter, Olivia, was 2 weeks old, her mother abandoned us. Leaving our daughter with me with this new responsibility, I found that my time was being pulled away from caring for Emma. I did my best to make time to hang out with her, but over the years, I noticed her becoming more resentful towards me. At first, it was small comments here and there. Then she started getting upset when I would tend to my daughter. Our relationship became strained after that. I graduated from high school back in June and started looking for colleges. I found a community college a few hours away that wasn't too expensive. The campus is a few minutes from my grandparents' house, so they offered to have me stay with them while attending classes, and they would watch Olivia for me during the day. I was speaking with my mom about it to arrange a time when she was off work and we could move my stuff. When Emma walked into the room and overheard, her reaction became upset when she heard, and she started calling me selfish and unfair. For the next few weeks, she continued this, but whenever I tried to explain, she would get upset and storm out of the room. A few days ago, we were home alone around 9 p.m. while our mom worked. Emma and I had gotten into an argument about me moving. It was starting to get heated when my daughter woke up and started calling for me. The last straw was when I went to get her. Emma had said I was a jerk just like our dad, abandoning her when she needed me most, and that she wishes my daughter was never born. Before I could say anything, she stormed into her bedroom and slammed the door. Her words struck me deeply, and for the past few days, she has refused to come out of her room. After talking with my mom, we have agreed it would be best if I moved in with my grandparents earlier, and we have arranged to do it next weekend. I don't know. I feel bad for what happened, and the guilt is eating me up inside. But I feel that what I am doing is best for me and my daughter. So am I the jerk? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. First of all, wow, you should be so proud of yourself. I'd be if you were my son. You have an excellent opportunity to attend college where your daughter will be with family. Take it. Your sister is a teenager with hormones and a lot of feelings. She will have to process you leaving. I strongly recommend therapy. But regardless, you are not abandoning her. You are simply moving forward with your life. She probably just needs reassurance that you will still be a part of her life, as her dad left and never came back. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your sister needs therapy. You're only 3 years older than her. You were basically thrust into the role of provider and caretaker. You did so to survive and made sure your family did too. How awesome to your grandparents. Continue to put your daughter first. And don't leave them unsupervised together. That type of resentment can boil over to abuse and death. Now, for the update. 2 days after moving in with my grandparents, I started getting into a solid routine with Olivia. She's only 2 years old, so she still needs a lot of attention, but she's a pretty chill kid. Not gonna lie, it's a bit of an adjustment having her full-time, but we were making it work. I was just getting used to the whole thing when my mom called to check in. She asked how we were doing, and I could hear Emma in the background. She sounded upset, like really upset. My mom mentioned that she was struggling with my absence. Typical. I felt bad, but at the same time, I had to focus on Olivia and me. I didn't really know what else to do. So, I decided to take Olivia to my mom's house for dinner. I figured it might ease some of the awkwardness between us, and I missed my mom's cooking, to be honest. When we got there, I noticed Emma sitting alone in her room. The door was slightly cracked open, and I could see her sitting on the bed, just staring at the wall. It was kind of sad, honestly. My mom came to the door to help us inside, and I asked her if Emma was okay. She just sighed and said she'd been a bit moody lately. Yeah, no kidding. My mom cooked spaghetti, which was Emma's favorite dish. I thought it might cheer her up, so I went into her room with Olivia. I asked her if she wanted to come eat with us, and she just shrugged. I tried to engage with Emma, but she barely acknowledged me. She just looked at Olivia and gave a weak smile. I could tell she was still upset. During dinner, Emma made a snide remark about me being a dad now and forgetting her. I just kept my focus on Olivia, who was giggling and playing with a toy. Her laughter is honestly the best sound in the world. Emma pushed her plate away and left the table, slamming the door behind her. I glanced at my mom, who just sighed and went after Emma. That left me and Olivia to finish our meal in awkward silence. After a few minutes, I heard them arguing in Emma's room, the door slightly ajar. I couldn't make out exactly what they were saying, but I heard Emma's voice getting louder. She accused my mom of choosing me over her, claiming I was just like our dad. That hurt, hearing her say that, but I guess she was just really upset. My mom tried to explain that I had responsibilities now, but Emma wouldn't listen. She just kept going on about how I was abandoning her. After dinner, my mom asked me to talk to Emma, but I hesitated. I didn't really know what to say. I decided to give her some space and took Olivia to the living room. I just didn't want to push it, you know? The next day, I got a text from Emma demanding I return home. I texted back, explaining that I needed to focus on my daughter and my studies. I didn't hear anything back, so I thought maybe she was cooling off. A few days later, she replied with a message saying she felt abandoned and alone. I hate that she feels that way, but I can't just drop everything for her. A few days after that, my grandparents invited us all for Thanksgiving dinner. I debated whether to go since Emma would be there, but I figured it might be a good opportunity to see her. My mom assured me it would be good for everyone to see each other, so I agreed. At dinner, I saw Emma sitting at the end of the table, avoiding eye contact. I made small talk with my grandparents while Olivia played with some cousins. My dad, who attended, joked about family traditions, trying to lighten the mood. You could tell it was a little awkward, but we were all trying. Suddenly, Emma burst into tears, causing everyone to stop talking. She shouted that I was ruining our family and that I didn't care about her anymore. The room fell silent, and I felt all eyes on me, including my dad's. Not exactly the family reunion I imagined. I calmly suggested we talk privately after dinner, and her reaction surprised everyone. She reluctantly agreed, and we stepped outside to the porch. I asked her what she really wanted, and she accused me of abandoning her. I explained my situation and how I was trying to be a good father to Olivia. Emma finally opened up about feeling neglected and angry at our mom for being busy. I promised to include her more and even invited her to help babysit Olivia. I could see her expression soften a bit, and she agreed to try being more supportive. We headed back inside, and my mom smiled at our progress. It felt like a small win. The next week, Emma started spending weekends with us, helping with Olivia. I noticed our relationship improving as we both adjusted to the new normal. It was good to have her around, even if it was just on the weekends. During Christmas, we exchanged gifts, and Emma gave Olivia a cute sweater. The family began to feel whole again, with Emma taking an active role in our lives. I know it won't be perfect every time, but we're getting there. Edit. Emma's reaction at Thanksgiving was unexpected, and I understand why some might be critical of my choices. I won't deny that I made mistakes in the past, and I wish I could have been there more for Emma, especially when she was struggling. However, I had to prioritize Olivia's needs and my responsibilities. Emma is now spending weekends with us, and we are working on rebuilding our relationship. It will take time, but we are committed to making it work. Am I the idiot for blowing up at my sister-in-law after she made snide remarks about my daughter? Am I the idiot for walking out of a family party after my sister-in-law made snide comments about my newly discovered daughter? I, 37-year-old male, was recently informed that I'm a father. My daughter is 16 years old and the result of a tryst with an older woman when I was 20. This is not a brag, it's simply informative. It wasn't a random one-night stand. We weren't strangers. We had known each other for several months up until that point and continued talking for almost a year afterward. She just never told me. Also, it wasn't an affair. I don't know why she never told me. I met my daughter for the first time recently, and everything went well. We've been communicating almost daily via text. She's excited to get to know me, holds no resentment against me because she understands that I was never informed of her existence at all, and is excited to meet the paternal side of her extended family. All in all, everything went so much better than I was expecting. She's the spitting image of me, but we did a test just to be absolutely certain, and the results proved that she is indeed my daughter. We'll call her M. So obviously, I announced this news to my family. My sister was the first one I told because she has been my confidant since we were in high school and we don't keep anything from each other. But with M's blessing, I have also informed other family. My oldest niece, the daughter of my sister, is excited because now all of a sudden she has an older girl cousin. Very big deal for a 10-year-old. The problem is my sister-in-law, 22-year-old female. We'll call her S. I'm not a rich guy, but as a bachelor, I do all right for myself. I have a tendency to spoil my nieces and nephews with candy and sometimes toys when I visit. Well, my youngest niece, the daughter of my brother and S, recently had a birthday party. A lot of the extended family was there, including my own grandparents. Closer to the end of the party, S made a comment about how I didn't even know that M existed for 16 years, and it shouldn't be such a big deal that she becomes part of my life now, because I was fine without her for so long, and vice versa. She said she just doesn't understand why I'm making it such a big deal. Well, despite the fact that I'm generally very slow to anger and always have been, I unloaded on her. I said some things that I shouldn't have, that I now regret, and left the party. S has been texting me all week about how terrible I am for what I said. My brother is on her side because it's his wife, but my sister is on my side because I was provoked. Our parents haven't been involved, but S has obviously told hers because they've texted me as well. To add, I said that she was being a selfish person and was too dense and insensitive to understand why it's a big deal for me, even if she doesn't think it is. Almost forgot, some of y'all are real hung up on the blonde part. Understand that this was said in anger and in the heat of the moment. I understand that it was too far. Important note, the comment made at the party was not the first comment. She'd been making passive-aggressive comments all last week, which I ignored. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, and if your daughter is up for it, you should have a belated baby shower for her to welcome her into the family. Sister-in-law seems intent on carving the family into us and her, and you need to take swift action to prevent her from succeeding. Comment 2. I would say you're not an A for shutting down her talks, but you've given a ton of detail only to be super vague about what you told her. You could have been well within your rights or super awful, so it's hard to judge. Edit. Not the idiot. Now for the update. I'm back with an update on the drama from the birthday party incident. It's been just over a month, and honestly, it feels like years. M has been spending more and more time with me and my family, and things are going well, mostly. We were at my parents' house for a family dinner, and M was super excited to meet her grandparents and cousins. My sister, who's been my rock through all this, made sure to include M in every conversation. She even pulled her aside to introduce her to everyone. It was sweet, and M was glowing. She even got to play with my youngest niece, who's like a mini tornado of energy. My parents were thrilled to see everyone, and the house was full of noise, laughter, and the smell of my mom's cooking. But guess who was also there? S. Yeah, the air was so tense. She barely spoke to M all evening, only addressing me when absolutely necessary. I could feel my blood pressure rising, but I tried to keep my cool for M's sake. When we sat down for dinner, my dad brought up M's accomplishments at school, and she lit up with happiness. But S rolled her eyes. I wanted to flip the table. Like, seriously? M deserves to be celebrated, and if you have a problem with that, maybe you should have stayed home. After dinner, S followed me into the kitchen and confronted me. She accused me of trying to make M the center of attention, and I was like, yeah, she deserves it. S then said we didn't need more drama with M's arrival, and I lost it. My voice was raised, and I could see M in the living room looking uncomfortable. I tried to reassure her that everything was fine, but I could tell she was worried. The night ended with S storming out, slamming the door so hard I thought the frame would crack. I got bombarded with texts from her family, all disappointed and calling me names. My brother didn't hold back either, siding with S like a good little soldier and refusing to communicate with me. A few days later, I got a call from S's parents. They were concerned about the family dynamic and wanted to meet up to talk. I figured, sure, why not? Maybe this would help clear the air, but I was wrong. At the meeting, S reiterated her feelings about M being a distraction. I told her that M is family and deserves respect. I don't know why I thought this would be a calm conversation. It escalated quickly, and we were back to arguing. S claimed I was creating division in the family, and I felt cornered. It was like a bunch of people were looking at me, waiting for me to say the wrong thing. We ended the meeting without any resolution, both of us frustrated and probably more pissed off than before. A week later, I got a surprising message from S. She wanted to meet and discuss things, but only if M wasn't present. No. I felt uneasy about meeting S alone after everything that's happened. I decided to respond, saying I would bring M to the meeting, and guess what? Crickets. S hasn't replied, and I'm not holding my breath. M is doing well, though, and that's what matters. Edit. I appreciate all the support and suggestions. Many asked about my wife and how she's handling this situation. Thankfully, my wife has been a pillar of strength throughout this entire ordeal. She's been supportive of my efforts to build a relationship with M and has helped me navigate the challenges with the rest of the family. M has also connected with my wife, which has made me really happy. She even helped M learn how to bake, and now M can't stop talking about making cookies. It's been a bright spot in all the chaos. Thank you for your concern. Am I the idiot for confronting my stepmother after she refused to let my dad eat the food he wanted? Am I the idiot for confronting my stepmother about feeding my recovering father old oatmeal instead of fresh food? I am a 55-year-old female. My dad, who is 83 years old, had surgery last week to remove a cancerous tumor in his digestive tract. My mom passed away 17 years ago, and he married a younger woman who I have never been a fan of. The feeling is definitely mutual, but I tolerate her in order to have a relationship with my dad. Since his surgery a week ago, all he's asked for is rice and beans. He's 100% Irish, but having been married 38 years to my mom, who is 100% Puerto Rican, he absolutely loves Puerto Rican food. He's been on basically a liquid diet until yesterday after a second procedure and was given the green light to eat solid food. He had a late lunch about 2 p.m. I immediately went home and cooked for him, and my daughters brought it up to the hospital. She had my dad call me at 5 to say he had eaten his hospital dinner and was full, less than 3 hours after he had lunch. My daughters had the nurses put it in the fridge. I had already put his name and the date on it. Visited this morning, and he didn't have an appetite. His hospital breakfast tray was sitting there, and I had brought him breakfast from the diner as well. All he had was coffee. I left a note in his room and even asked the nurse assistant who came into his room if she could offer him the rice for lunch. I texted his wife the same. Got this text to me, my siblings from the wife after she finally showed up to the hospital after 2 p.m. Your dad wasn't hungry today. Around 2, he had oatmeal with chocolate chips and an Ensure chocolate protein shake and a cup of tea. He is quite full now. He still has some pain/soreness. He is managing his pain without pain meds. So I replied, I hope not, that oatmeal that was sitting out from this morning? Her response, the oatmeal was covered and still good. It was superheated and melted his chocolate chips. I called the nurse's station to ask why my dad would be allowed to eat food from a tray at least 6 hours old. Turns out his wife asked the nurse to heat up the 7-hour-old oatmeal, and he asked for his rice and beans, and she, wife, just laughed? The nurse told me she's making sure the tray is gone, and she seemed a bit annoyed at the situation. She says she's going to heat it up and bring it to him. I called and spoke to him. I asked if his appetite was back, and he told me he ate the oatmeal. Asked him why he didn't eat the rice instead, and he said he forgot. Which is not true, because the nurse told me he asked for it when his wife asked to have the oatmeal heated up. I made sure to tell the nurse she fed him the old oatmeal, absolutely on purpose, so he wouldn't eat the food I made. The nurse is aware he's been asking for rice and beans. I didn't tell her initially what it was. I just said I dropped off dinner to him last night and it's in the fridge. She asked me if it was rice. Pretty sure feeding an elderly man hours-old food that was sitting in a window just to be spiteful is proof who the jerk is. Am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. And the new wife sounds petty. But you need some perspective. The hospital nurses are overworked. They don't want family drama, and it's not their role to manage meals. The surgeon orders the diet, and a dietary service brings the food and takes the tray away later. If a nurse or aide heated anything up, they were likely going out of their way to help. You don't want to be the demanding family member that treats nurses like waitstaff. If it's very important to you that dad has rice and beans, bring the hot rice and beans at mealtime, or make it for him as soon as he gets out. This is one of those, if you want it done right, you gotta do it yourself situations. Comment 2. An 83-year-old man has just had gastrosurgery, and you're surprised the first things he is eating are oatmeal and protein shakes? Just because he's been asking for rice and beans doesn't mean that's what he should be eating at this point. There's an awful lot of OP telling the nurses what should be done, and a fair bit of the wife telling what should be done. But if he's in the hospital post-op, the nurses in hospital are going to be focused on what OP's dad needs, and certainly not getting in the middle of a spat about rice and beans that appears to be taking way too much of everybody's emotional energy. Everyone sucks here, except dad. Now, for the update. I'm back with an update on my dad after the rice and beans situation from 2 days ago. My dad got discharged from the hospital yesterday. Yay! The whole family gathered at my parents' house to welcome him home. My dad looked weak, but was happy to be back. The atmosphere was tense because his wife was there. I brought a pot of homemade rice and beans for him, thinking it would cheer him up. My daughters were excited to see their grandfather and help him eat the meal. My dad's wife greeted us coldly when we arrived. Not surprised, honestly. I set the rice and beans on the kitchen table, and my daughters served him a portion. He took a few bites, but then pushed the plate away, saying he was full. His wife immediately suggested ordering takeout instead. Like, why? She picked up the phone without waiting for his response, of course. I felt uneasy, but stayed quiet, wanting to avoid drama in front of my dad. She ordered expensive sushi, which my dad had never liked. When the food arrived, my dad barely touched it, clearly not interested. I tried to encourage him to eat the rice and beans again, but he just shrugged. This is when my dad's wife snapped at me, saying he needed a variety of foods to regain strength. My daughters exchanged worried glances, sensing the tension. After dinner, my dad went to bed early, leaving me feeling frustrated. The next morning, I got a text from my dad saying he felt sick. I rushed over to check on him, bringing more rice and beans. When I arrived, the wife was already there, looking annoyed. She told me he had been up all night with stomach issues. I insisted on checking in with him, but she blocked my way. I pushed past her and found my dad in bed, looking pale. I set the food on the nightstand, but she told me he couldn't eat. I suggested bringing him ginger tea, but she rolled her eyes like it was the most ridiculous thing ever. The tension escalated when she accused me of intruding on their space. I reminded her that he was my dad and I just wanted to help. She raised her voice, claiming I was trying to take over his care. My daughters stood behind me, clearly uncomfortable with the argument. I decided to leave, feeling that nothing I said would matter. As I walked out, I overheard her saying something to my dad about me being a burden. I slammed the door behind me, frustrated and angry. That evening, I got a message from my dad asking to talk. I agreed to meet him at a nearby diner the next day. When I arrived, he seemed distant, almost reluctant to speak. He mentioned he felt torn between me and his wife, which surprised me. I asked him why he felt that way, and he hesitated to respond. He finally said that his wife had been pressuring him to choose sides. To answer a few questions, My dad's wife has been critical of our family for years, claiming we're too involved in his life. Her behavior worsened after his surgery, as she seems to want complete control over his care. Despite this, my dad still feels obligated to listen to her. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.